Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Waltz again, and this is Chapter 15, Lesson 3, How the North Won. Here's our vocabulary box. Battle of Gettysburg. You should know that term. The name of that battle, the Battle of Gettysburg. It was a 3-day Civil War battle. Gettysburg was the furthest north that Confederate forces had pushed into Union territory. Gettysburg. The Gettysburg Address. You should memorize that, basically. The Gettysburg Address, famous speech given by President Lincoln. It inspired the Union to keep fighting. So you hear people talk about the Gettysburg Address. This is that. Battle of Vicksburg was a Civil War battle in which the Union got control of the Mississippi River. Remember the Anaconda Plan? Blockades, blockading off from the Atlantic, from the Gulf. The next thing was to get control of the Mississippi River, cutting that area in half, and then squeeze in east and west. Total war. A kind of warfare used to destroy the enemy's army and their will to fight. This was a new type of thing where it's suddenly, you really want this to end? Give me the green light, and it will end. William Tecumseh Sherman is a name that you'll want to associate with that. So we have Ulysses S. Grant and William Tecumseh Sherman. Sherman's March to the Sea, total war. You need to know that. All right, we'll get more into the specifics of that in a moment. Here we go, the Battle of Gettysburg. In 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg was fought in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The Union held a position on a hill in that battle. This protected them from Confederate fire. On the first day, Union soldiers were forced back. On the second day, Union soldiers held their ground. On the third day, both sides exchanged cannon fire. Confederate General George Pickett led an attack on Union troops. The Union Army was well protected in the hills, but the Confederate troops were just out in the open. The Confederate attack failed. The Southern troops retreated back into Virginia. The Gettysburg Address. President Lincoln gave a speech called the Gettysburg Address. He gave it to honor the soldiers who had died in the war. He wanted to inspire Americans to keep their country together. He said that a united country and an end to slavery were worth fighting for. So before we were really looking at preserving the Union, united, keeping it united, preserving the Union. That was the main thing that was promoted. At this point in time now, we're seeing the issue of slavery has come to the forefront and is no longer to be ignored. That's right there with it. Now it's a united country and an end to slavery is worth fighting for. So we're looking now to have a union that does not have slavery within it. The tide turns. The Battle of Gettysburg helped turn the tide of the war in the favor of the Union. So did other battles. As part of the Anaconda Plan, the Union wanted to gain control of the Mississippi River. They did this at the Battle of Vicksburg. In May 1863, the Union blockaded or closed off Vicksburg, Mississippi. Confederate soldiers and citizens face starvation. Okay, again, if you've gained control here, and it's the North, the Union that's this way, you begin to squeeze in from the east and west. They can't get supplies in, they can't get food in, they can't get their exports out to be able to have the finances to invest into other things. Either they are cut off, they're facing starvation now. The Confederacy surrendered Vicksburg on July 4th, 1863, one day after the Battle of Gettysburg ended. The largest number of Civil War battles occurred in Virginia. Many Union soldiers were sent to Virginia. They might have been sent there because the capital of the Confederacy was in Virginia. Also, Washington, D.C. was located between Virginia and Maryland. Union troops might have been sent there to defend the city. But that's what we see as the major number of battles, the largest number of Civil War battles occurring in the state of Virginia. The war ends. under General William Tecumseh Sherman. Union General William Tecumseh Sherman helped wear down the Confederate Army. He used total war to destroy the Confederate soldiers' will to fight. First, Sherman and his troops took Atlanta, Georgia, an important industrial and railway center. So they're dealing with transportation, goods getting in and out. And they destroyed everything. They burned, they wiped things out. It was devastating. His army marched to take over Savannah, Georgia, and destroyed everything in their path that the South could use to keep fighting. This is called Sherman's March to the Sea. Whether it was food, any type of resources, anything that they could have used, it was gone. He destroyed everything in that path. That is his march to the sea. The Confederacy did surrender. They surrendered in Virginia on April 9th, 1865. General Lee and General Grant met in a farmhouse in Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia, to discuss the terms of surrender. The Civil War was the most destructive war in American history. President Lincoln wanted the country then to join together and rebuild itself. He had a plan. He had a plan to put forth with Reconstruction. He had a plan that would have involved what would have happened with those slaves that were then free. Unfortunately, we know what then happened in his assassination. That plan was not carried forth in the same way. So we have the war ending, but what we have ahead is Reconstruction and the difficult task of that. And that is Chapter 15, Lesson 3, How the North Won.